I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
It was like, that last second of, am I sure who I am?
But you came through the crisis
I did.
really well.
Standing tall.
That's
Well,
right.
actually sitting down.
Well, wasn't that actor Bo? What was his name?
Sevenson, I believe is what his name was. I don't even know how I remember that.
You did though. It
I
was
think that was
standing.
his name.
It was standing tall. Was that the name?
It was
Or
something like Walking Tall. Walking Tall.
Walking tall.
And if you recall,
Yeah,
The Rock made a remake of that. It was a
I didn't
terrible.
see that. I did not know that.
First of all, there was no reason to make a remake of that movie because that movie was not that great to begin with. Okay?
No, I watched it. It was terrible.
It was, but there was. Wait a minute, not as bad as The Thing with Two Heads, though, right?
Nothing is as bad as that. I mean that might be the worst movie in the history of cinema.
Hey, look, man, my man Rosie Greer was on there, so you can't talk too badly about that.
No, well, look, let's say this: he had a true Hall of Fame career in football.
Actually, he wasn't a Hall of Famer, but
no, but
he'll always be a Hall of Famer to me.
Me too. Actually, I always thought he should have been a Hall of Famer. I really,
who is a Hall of Famer in the CRM Playaz pantheon?
No, who? Oh, there he is.
He is.
Yay!
Our moment is Sven is back. We were afraid that you were on the run from the cops or something there, Sven.
Yeah, we were really worried, man.
All right, so he just cut me out completely on this one apparently because he's saying Paul usually doesn't start out with just putting you out there without me, but we'll run with it, Sven, because you've been away for a while. All right, so I don't even know how to pronounce that.
I'm going Turkish on this or something related to that.
I would say I would have, if I were to guess, I would have gone with Turkish too.
Yeah,
because of those double dot things over the O.
The double dots and the use of O's and K's.
Now I'm actually also getting hungry because it looks like he has a hoagie in there.
That's what it says. He said, hey, Paul, was your order a hoagie or?
All right, so Sven, we're guessing Turkish. So let us know if we're right and what it is. Oh, wait a minute. It was Hungarian.
Hungarian. Oh my God,
that's kind of close.
Well, no, actually, it's not as far apart as you think.
No, that's pretty close.
Mongol influence there.
Mongo?
What? Mongol.
I thought we were talking about Blazing Saddles all the time.
No, we're talking about Genghis Khan, right? Mongol.
I was always more of a Kublai Khan kind of guy. But that's just
I was a Genghis guy, man. Always.
Okay, there it is.
Does my picture look a little bit?
It got a little softer.
Yeah, but also a little out of focus.
A little out of.
Yeah. I'm gonna do my thing here.
Oh, look at Rebecca coming through with the comedy. You should have spelled it with an A though. That would have been even better, Rebecca. Brett was Hungary. That would have been really good.
Oh, actually, she's right. That was actually pretty good though.
It was pretty good. Yeah. Anyway, while you're fixing that over, we are the CRM Players, and guess what? We've been bringing the ads, and we got to make sure we pronounce that Z really carefully.
As
since 2009. Oh, Alan wins. Shaka Khan. Yes, that's the Khan that we should have said. Absolutely.
No, I'm sticking with Genghis.
I like Shaka.
I did too, but.
And I feel for you because you're sticking with Genghis. How about that?
I am.
Okay. Did you get that? You didn't.
Yes, I got
it. You just ignored it. Was that bad? Huh? All right. So today is not an ordinary CRM Player show. It's never an ordinary CRM Player show. When the CEO and founder of Pegasystems, Alan Trefler, graces us with his appearance. Now, this has become like an annual event, as we like to say down in Georgia, an event unlike any other. Although we're not giving out the Masters or green jackets or anything.
You've been big on that lately.
I love that saying. Jim Nance, the way he says it.
Yeah, you want to talk about a Hall of Famer, man. Jim Nance, Hall of Fame broadcaster. That guy. Awesome.
I like him.
I loved him.
We can't talk about him right now because Alan's on. Maybe we should get Jim Nance on at one point. That would be kind of fun.
I'm sure Kenny knows him.
But this is the 4th year in a row. I think I've counted that correctly.
Yes, you have.
That we have been doing these on the road to PegaWorld with Alan Trefler shows because they kind of lead right into PegaWorld once we have them on. So we're going to have a little bit of a different format today because I think we have to make sure that he is able to leave at a certain time, and we don't want to overstep our boundaries with that. So we're not going to do Stump the Godfather right now. We're going to do it after don't worry. We're going to get it in there, folks. Never you mind about that. But we're going to do it after Alan leaves. So we wanted to make sure we have lots of time.
My stomach hurts.
We have lots of time to do that after we have Alan. And just a quick reminder, next week, we're going to be on the road, man. We're going to be going to Zoholics. I wonder if is that the bus we're going to get on or something?
I hope not. It looks like a hot dog truck.
I like hot dogs, though, so I'm not too worried about it. Wow, look at this. Patrick can't wait a minute. Patrick is going to be coming to Zoholics? Is that what we're hearing?
That would be amazing. That would be so good.
That would be interesting.
That would be awesome.
It would be awesome. I've not yet met Millie. You've met Millie.
Yeah.
Minnie, excuse me.
Minnie. But I actually haven't met Patrick, and Rebecca's local.
Well, I think we've seen way more of Patrick than we have Minnie, though.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. Yeah. We see Minnie in one picture.
Absolutely. But that was still the best picture.
Oh, my God. Classic.
All right. So that's next week. But the week after that, we're going to PegaWorld. And
yes, we are.
We need to start getting on the road to PegaWorld. So without further ado, our guest is in the green room. And I would like to turn things over to the venerable Paul Greenberg to introduce him.
So, all right. I think I'm trying to figure it out, but I think I've known Alan probably somewhere north of 15 years, maybe, or something along those lines. In fact, I still have memories of a conversation we had about moderating panels, which I won't go into, but it was a good conversation. That's all I'll say. And the guy, he's a founder of a company that has been really successful. It's over $1 billion in revenue now. He's been there since the beginning, and we've gone through this before, so I won't reiterate that. He is really smart guy. I mean, he's one of these people who, let's say, he looks at the world, he gets the insights he needs. He then determines whether or not those insights will be useful to him and Pega, and then applies accordingly. Or he'll take a trend he sees, and as we've seen in the past, shred it. Right? Just shred it. But shred it with justification. I mean, it's not like he just does it. He also has a great sense of humor. I just love the guy, right? And he's just I love having him on this show. I will tell you, I just love it. And so he's the man. And I mean, no more superlatives I can speak to because I've used them now for 4 years, right? For 4 years, I've had to come up with new ones each year, and somehow I've managed to do it. So,
well, before we bring him on, I have done a little something that I don't think we've done for any other guests, since this is the 4th time in a row that he's done this, and it is an event unlike any other. I just really like saying that. I don't know why, but I have taken a liberty to put together a little highlight reel.
Whoa!
We like to call the best of Alan Trefler. On the so here we go, folks. Here we go.
A grandmaster in chess when he was younger, and you can see that if you made a wrong move, he would eat you alive by this picture.
You didn't think I was going to bite that hand on that?
I was frightened.
just looking at the clips from 2021 and 2022. Alan, have you left that room in 3 years?
It's a nice room. What can I say?
Was your Uncle Filbert, was he the precursor to the scientists in Back to the Future?
I think that there was some inspiration taken from that.
Did your brother, was he always a big snacker? Because in pieces of that clip, every time you turn around and they focus it back to you and your brother, he was always eating something different.
The irony now is I'm the guy who needs to lose a few pounds, and he got himself into perfect shape. So much has changed in the last, frankly, in the last 30-something years. But the thing that hasn't changed is that the way that most companies use technology is just too primitive and too backwards. If you look at other industries, for example, look at computer-aided design and manufacturing. So you look at the creation of actual goods. It's come unbelievably in the last 35 years. In software, it's all BS. We've made it harder and more complicated to engage customers or build back-end systems or hook it all together. And we've been very careful, unlike a lot of companies in this business, to not just go out and acquire a bunch of crap. When we buy something as a company, it's because it's consistent with that end-to-end vision. My first 2 customers who went live in 1984, God forbid, are still customers to this day.
Metaverse, is this something that people should be focused on in the near term, in the long term, at all?
I think that the key part of that phrasing is averse.
That still gets me, man.
Classic moment.
Which didn't occur to me till you just said it.
It worked.
All right. So with all that said, boy, there's a lot of good moments.
That was
a little short.
With the closing with the classic.
Here he is, CEO and founder of Pegasystems, although we like to say Pega. Alan Trefler. Almost said Adam. Alan Trefler. Alan, thank you for joining us again.
Hey, Brent, Pega's good. We like Pega too.
And Alan, it still looks like you're in the same place.
He is. He changed his shirt though.
I had more variety in some of the other shows. I'm going to have to bring something brand new if we do this again.
We're counting on it.
Absolutely. So first of all, once again, thanks for taking the time to do this because it is a tradition unlike any other at this point. So we're glad that
unlike any other.
So, okay, Alan, Meta, you were right about metaverse, right? Metaverse. You're absolutely right about it. 100%. It's pretty much, for the most part, a dead issue with some things that are hanging around. Now we have Gen AI. Pega, has it, uses it, develops it. But where do you put it, given the insane amount of hype around it, as well as the use cases that are evolving around it? So there's obvious value there too. Where does Pega, how is Pega thinking about this? How are you thinking about it? And what are you doing at Pega to further your thoughts?
Well, the interesting thing is, of course, there's an amazing hype cycle that burst forward around AI. And the interesting thing here is the hype does have a lot of BS, but the core, the ability of what AI and generative AI are going to be able to do is actually quite remarkable. When I think about AI, and we've done a lot of thinking about this, we really see 3 types of AI. There's the statistical AI, the decisioning AI that we've done for the last 12, 14 years, in which you look at patterns and, based on those patterns, you make predictions. And then you use machine learning to continue to perfect those predictions. And that has enormous value. But generative AI, which really burst on the scene in a big way about 18 months ago, when we saw it, we realized there are going to be 2 things that would be relevant here. The first is what I would describe as productivity tools, like being able to summarize something, being able to listen to a conversation and automatically pull out the text, being able to do a great little letter. Those are really useful, and people are going to use productivity tools from Pega and from a lot of other companies. But the thing I think we're doing uniquely, and we placed an enormous bet on this, is being able to use generative AI to change the business process itself. So to use generative AI and the best practices from the internet and combine that with what we've learned over the years and the structure we have for process and rule automation, and be able to do something absolutely remarkable, that's going to be the highlight of PegaWorld, I believe.
One of the things that's going on right now, it feels like, is a lot of uncertainty in the marketplace. Generally speaking, we saw some of the recent quarterly earnings come out from software enterprise stalwarts, and they've been getting killed. You look at Workday, you look at what's going on with Salesforce today, ServiceNow even. How does all this uncertainty impact the kind of adoption of generative AI to do some of the things that you talked about?
Well, it's not going to affect the adoption at all for us, as I see it, because we would never pitch an AI for the sake of AI. We were pitching AI as being a way in which the product got better, in a way to make it so that the way you design things gets better, that the answers you make get better. So people are going to buy or not buy, as the case may be, our AI because of the outcomes, because of the results, not for the principle of AI itself.
So what's the practical side of that? Look, one thing with Pega that you've always done really well is have the use cases lined up, always. I mean, that's why your corporate narrative always works, right? Because you already have, okay, we were here, now we're here, here's how we got here, here are all the use cases that we lined up accordingly, now we're going to move here, here's how we got here, et cetera, et cetera. You've done that superbly, really, for a long time. Rarely glitch. So what kind of use cases are you lining up for this? Because that's ultimately what determines the value, really.
Well, the use cases designate the outcomes. So I'll talk about two of them. And once again, I'm not going to, statistical AI, though a lot of people confuse it because there's so much AI speak. But statistical AI is obviously tremendously valuable. And we're doing that for many, many companies to do what's called next best action. But on the generative side, which is profoundly different in technology, different in use cases, I'll talk about two things we're doing. We've released a collection of what we call buddies, which are knowledge bots, which a customer can load up their information, they can eat their website, they can get their procedures manuals, and that buddy can help call center agents, people in the back office, anybody who needs to get information pulled together using a technique called retrieval assisted generation.
Yep.
That is, we very quickly realized that our customer base was not going to like hallucinations. So we came up with the hallucination-free use cases. And one of those is this buddy use case, which is getting a lot of excitement. But an even, I'd say, more significant one is something we call Blueprint, which is actually available on Pega.com. We actually opened it up about 5 weeks ago to partners and to customers. And what Blueprint lets you do in 5 minutes, you can sit down and you can put a problem. Let's assume I wanted to create a business that we're going to become wizard podcasters and build a large constituency and become as famous as CRM Playaz. I want it to be.
That won't take much.
If I were to put that, if I were to type that value prop into Blueprint, and maybe I will at the end of this, what it will do is it will actually identify, hey, what are the work products? What are the processes you need to do it? What are the stages and steps you go through? And I would imagine talk about what you need to do to be able to set up and arrange the studio and figure out the technical aspects, and what you need to do every week to get the talent you want to interview, and how you, and I'm waiting for this still, how you suck up to them and give them gifts. And it would walk you through all those different types of things in a way that's quite remarkable. And of course, we're not doing it for those purposes. We're doing it so that our clients can understand the absolutely best way to onboard one of their clients, or that they can understand how they want to do various know your customer processes or the other types of things. And what this has done is taken the 2 weeks or more sometimes that people would spend sitting in front of a whiteboard with stickies, drawing on the walls how they wanted their businesses to be re-engineered. And it replaces it with unbelievably good stimuli from the best practices on the internet, coupled with what we've learned all these years. And we've had this out here for as I said, about 5 weeks. We've had over 10,000 of these blueprints done.
Wow.
And the feedback we're getting is terrific. It's very practical use that is also very creative at the same time.
Did the buddies pay for lunch?
We'll have our buddy take you out to lunch.
Right.
We've talked about the last year and a half and how Gen AI has really changed. It feels like almost everything at this point. But when you think about your customers over the last year and a half, how has Gen AI impacted their approach to their business and their expectation from you to help with that approach?
Well, I think one of the great things that it's done, I'm joking, is it's really made them much more skeptical about software companies. Because every software company and every technology company has been pounding on their door, screaming Gen AI, Gen AI, Gen AI, and how it's going to do all sorts of miraculous things without candidly having really thought through how to do it in most of those cases. So I think it's taken a skepticism that exists in the in the buyers and just fanned the flame, because it was nuts. I was in Davos in January this year, and you'd walk down the street, and every shop window, which are taken over by companies, everyone is AI this and AI that, and it's candidly ridiculous. Having said that, with the right use cases, this is going to be profoundly game changing for our customers, and also for customers like us, for institutions like us. We're gonna find, and are finding, this gives us a chance to really change the way we operate.
So I heard in the beginning of all this conversations about AI, Gen AI, about a year ago, somebody was saying, "Oh, it's the most important thing that's happened in the last X decades, more important than even the internet." What do you think?
I wouldn't say it's more important than the internet, but I think it is completely transformational. I think this will give companies a chance to really, really step out ahead of their competition and make themselves both closer to their customers, but also tremendously more efficient. It really is also, I think, in the right places, stimulating a reevaluation of what's possible. Some of the other things it's going to do, operating in multiple languages, is now candidly, it's really becoming a piece of cake, being able to do truly, truly remarkable things in that. So, a lot of times our international customers would lag in terms of when we would have some of the training materials and documentation ready for them. We tried to do it fast, but it could easily be a couple of months. I predict as this really settles in here, at least the way we're going at these things, it's all going to be instantaneous. It's all going to be contemporaneous. It's all going to be easier. It's going to be better. And that's a big deal for any organization that has an international customer base, either as a vendor like us or as an organization that works internationally with.
To that end, there's one area I've been thinking about lately when it comes to this, which I don't see anybody really talking about, but certainly would potentially apply, which was, if you look at Clarabridge before it got acquired by Qualtrics back in the day, they always did something absolutely insanely different than anyone else, which was they had 11-point sentiment analysis, so you could distinguish between angry and irritated rather than not positive or somewhat negative. And it was multilingual, but it wasn't just multilingual; it was multicultural lingual, right? And I was thinking about this a few days ago, and it occurred to me that an application of Gen AI could do that, but I don't know how. I mean,
Well, we just got, it was interesting because we do an employee engagement survey every year, and we had a staggering response this year, which I view as very exciting. It's great to have teams who are engaged. We have 90% response rate, and we had tens of thousands of written comments. And I looked through a couple thousand myself, but it just wasn't going to be possible to be able to go through more than a couple of thousand. A lot of them were really good. So we use generative AI to distill the sentiment, to categorize them, to try to summarize and pull out just lots of great ideas, so that we can continue to drive engagement. So there are very, very tangible ways you can use it. And things like that sentiment analysis are now becoming embeddable in anything.
which I think is that to me will be, when it's mature enough, will be amazing. Absolutely amazing what it'll be able to do. Oh my God.
It's at a level of maturity where it's already pretty awesome.
Okay, I haven't seen it yet, but I will take your word for it.
PegaWorld, baby.
Okay.
Speaking of that,
I'll ask about it.
Speaking of PegaWorld, I want to ask: is there any truth to the rumors that you're going to be taking on multiple people in a ping pong match, similar to what you do with chess when you play 5 people at a time?
Well, not quite the same way. I am playing 15 or 20 clients on the Tuesday afternoon. But the way we do the ping pong is, we'll have 6 or 7 tables set up, appropriately next to a bar, because ping pong is best done with considerable amounts of alcohol. And I will confess, I've been known to play sufficiently late into the evening that by the next morning I feel like a rag doll.
So if you're playing ping pong near a bar, you're playing beer pong? That's what it sounds like. You're playing beer pong.
So I part of being really old, Paul, is that I learned beer pong when it was done the real way with paddles. And you actually played with paddles. None of this throwing the ping pong ball stuff.
You had to hit the ball with the paddle into the cup?
You actually just had to hit the opponent's cup.
Right.
If you could sink it in the cup, they had to chug whatever it was. But if you just hit the cup, they had to drink a piece of it. So that was what, to my mind, that's the original beer pong. We tend not to do that these days because let's just say it makes the floor rug a little bit sticky.
Yeah, that's interesting. All right, so PegaWorld coming up in less than 2 weeks. Wow, it's kind of amazing. Yeah. So tell folks what makes this year's PegaWorld stand out possibly from some of the previous ones.
Well, I think the level of innovation that we're going to be showing is even higher than what we normally show, and by a lot. And we've got 100,000 square feet of exhibition space where we're going to have over 200 live demos, staffed by engineers and by partners. So, Paul, you'll not just be able to ask about the voice AI, you'll be able to go over to the booth and have them show it to you, try it, touch it.
I'm going to do that. There's somebody named Kelly Maloney Schermerhorn who has the comment so long that
it'll cover up your face, so we can't.
It'll cover it, literally go off the screen. But she said she talks about a sentiment partnership between Pega and Kintsugi for mental health. Do you know much about that one?
Yeah, look, there's some interesting work that's being done, very cutting edge, interesting work about trying to determine markers of depression. So that if, for example, somebody calls into a health plan's call center, that you'd be able to get cues as to, do they really require treatment for depression, or do they require, perhaps a more serious intervention there? And as a sentiment analysis, in a lot of ways, that can be potentially more life salvaging than just deciding whether the person is is happy or not.
Right.
So there's a
Exactly.
whole range of possibility here.
Okay, thanks. Again, I'll find it on your exhibition hall floor and see what I can find there, because I'm really fascinated by that opportunity.
And you have to go hands-on and try our blueprint capability, because this is a way for you to create that, successor set of shows that you might want to create as you expand your empire.
I think Alan sounds like you want to be one of those successors. You'd be a great show to have on.
You think I should retire to being a talking head? Is that what you're saying?
No, you're more than that. So you don't want to limit
You're
yourself.
a talking head and talking. You're a talking head with a full brain and a complete body.
Well, we'll see on the ping pong.
Well, then you just be out of body, right?
Yeah. I have a question around. There's so much excitement and it's understandable around the idea of co-pilots and assistants and finally having some smarts to go along with them, because I lament all the time, like Apple put Siri out 2011 or something like that, and it doesn't feel like that's gotten a whole lot smarter since.
What about Alexa? That it was smart at the time.
Yeah, the times have changed, unfortunately, for them. But now over the last year and a half or so, you're seeing all the birth of the co-pilots. And Paul and I have been at a number of events this year where you're seeing these partnerships between vendors and their co-pilots. And I'm just wondering, do you think, there was a lot of excitement around, going to the cloud with applications and silos were supposed to go away, but they did not. They just kind of proliferated. And so now there's excitement around the potential for these co-pilots and assistants to work together to kind of overcome the challenge of all these silos that have been created. What do we need to do? What does the industry need to do to make sure, if that is an opportunity, if that is a possibility, that we can use these assistants and co-pilots that span multiple vendors and break down these silos that have been in existence and kind of getting worse and worse as the years go on?
Well, I think there are different people with different philosophies, and we have what I would describe as a distinctive one. Some people talk about the creation of what's referred to as AGI, artificial general intelligence, in which case you might have an assistant that just magically figured everything out and went to all the right backend systems, pull it all together. It was just generally intelligent. I'm a little skeptical of those, certainly in any sort of short-term time frame, because I think in the businesses that we work in, which in some cases are regulated, reliability and repeatability are super important. Yeah. So our strategy has not been to try to create these AGI type, agentic concepts, but instead has been to say, like what I described with Blueprint, how can we use the power of the Gen AI to distill and synthesize how you go to all these different backend systems, what the actual end product and process should be, and be able to present that to a user, or be able to peel bits of it off out of an email and create that sort of automation, but do it in a rules and process foundation, so that you've got complete repeatability, you've got an audit trail, you have the basis for machine learning, you have a lot of things that I think are really positive. And that's what you'll see when we show you Blueprint. You'll see those concepts.
I'm literally on the page looking at it right now. That's incredible. I mean, so
it's really, really gotten enormous excitement from
it's the idea that, judging from what it looks like, basically you're giving somebody access to developing a prompt and then generating the idea from there with other things built around it.
Yeah, we don't make them construct a prompt, but right. We have them give us the input that we can then massage and play with and do our own lookups, and then we do the prompting for them, but we bring them back something that then they can collaborate with. They can actually go and collaborate with the AI to refine it. And they can also go and collaborate with a coworker and invite another coworker, for example, in to this, process improvement party.
That's amazing. How do you deal with I mean, there's all the bigger dicey issues around Gen AI. Obviously, the most famous thing right now is IP ownership and with the New York Times suit against OpenAI and Altman's utterly idiotic statement saying we can't make money if you don't let us do it for free. I mean, I just
Well, I think they've changed that. I mean, they've been they just entered into another licensing agreement.
Oh, I'm sure they didn't have much of a choice, really. But how do you? Okay, so you've got Blueprint here. How do you protect yourselves in that kind of against the trickier parts of it?
Well, look, a lot of the industry-specific best practices, which we do have in there, are ones that came from our own IP, so we owned it.
Right.
We're allowing our partners to themselves create blueprints based on their IP, which we then load into the Blueprint website, so that our partners can use that with their customers. But we're not going to access our partner's IP. We're going to respect that the partner's IP needs to be their IP. And the whole way that we're using the internet in this circumstance, we think is very safe from an IP infringement point of view. But you're right. Everyone's got to be careful and got to be thinking about it.
Yeah. Striking.
Yeah. So we're mindful of your time because we know you have other things to do. So
I don't understand why you would have other things to do. We're talking with us. I don't.
He's got to get some beer pong practice in, a little ping pong, a little chess, all that stuff.
Paul, I like that swing. We'll see you on the table.
No, you won't. I was horrible at ping pong.
You could have like a venerable.
I have double jointed arms, so that take my word for it.
It should be good.
Good is not the word.
It's the first time I'm hearing that in like 15 years of doing this show, Alan. I didn't know about the
double jointed arms. Oh yeah, you did. You've seen them, and they're really grotesque. When I put
maybe I tried to block them out of my mind. I don't know. It's kind of interesting.
Oh my!
See? I just showed Alan.
Oh right. Yeah, that was.
You had your head down.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad I did.
I'm not going to be able to lose that image, Paul.
No, that's kind of the idea.
Alan,
it's my imprint.
Has anything about your approach to business changed over the last year and a half based on all the stuff that's going on?
Approach? I think the things that really matter in business, and there are things we try to live with. In the preamble, you talked about how our first two clients from who went live in 1984, and remember that was the era of DEC VAXes and IBM CICS, right? I think a lot is the same. You got to really, respect the needs of clients. You got to build an excellent team. And the thing I've become much more conscious of promoting, and we've done a lot inside the company to really, make this, I think, clearer, is how important it is to have an external lens. How you always need to be looking and learning in terms of what's going on in tech, what's going on in the businesses that you do business with, what's happening in the world, as opposed to a lot of companies, I think, become very internally focused, and organizations become silo focused. We're up to like 5,300 people, right? So it's really easy to have silos that think that their job is complete when they hand something off to another group. And the reality is you always need to look externally. What is the experience of the customer who's using what you're doing? What don't they like? That external focus, which I think I probably had sort of implicitly, we've now really worked to make an explicit part of our values and something that we really encourage and teach. And I think it's terrific. It's terrific to be able to bring sort of, even long-term historical perspectives with new thinking, new people who bring in new thinking. That's how you really, really make, I think, a company sustain and have it be a good place and a fun place to work.
So, what's any what kind of crowd do you expect this time? What are you thinking?
I'm pretty confident we're going to have well over 4,000 people.
Okay.
Nice.
So it should be it's big enough to have lots of energy, and we have a tremendous number of things to show these folks. And what I love is that here I'll show you the propaganda that we have. This is it's all on the website, but we have you can't really read obviously here. The customers who are coming and speaking and talking about what they're doing. And what I love is we try to be really content rich, and our clients are content rich also. So our customers will come and talk about things that we're not allowed to, because we can't talk about what our customers are doing specifically, because unless they've made it public, because many of them compete against each other. But when they come and they talk about what they're doing, they can say anything they want. And I will tell you, they often do. So that's
you literally have still in my pantheon of customer speeches. You literally had the best one I ever saw, which were those best friends from I guess they were from, where were they from? Sweden or something?
They were the Dutch.
The two Dutch guys who gave you a group hug at the end, right?
Yeah.
I'll never forget their speech. I mean, it was like a combination of incredible content with stand-up comedy. It was absolutely a brilliant speech that the two of them gave, and really, that's how. Because there's always been this thing that if the customer, they should speak. Well, they're not necessarily good just because they're a customer, right? And a lot of times,
and one of them went on to become the CEO of a meaningful Dutch bank, and the other one became the president of one of the divisions of Wells Fargo. So they've actually done pretty well.
I am not shocked in the slightest. Those two were just the chemistry was amazing to begin with, and they knew how to communicate to an audience like no customers I've ever seen before. They were fantastic, and you've done that before. I mean, you choose well with your customers like that. I don't remember her name either, but when you were just starting to talk about customer experience, you had that customer from Lloyd's. Right. I can't remember her name either, but she was fantastic. I mean, she told one of the best stories of how Pega gets applied to bring out Lloyd's felt was a superb customer experience, and they fixed a lot of issues as a result too. But the way she told the story was engaged everybody. It was just great, and it literally punctuated the conference as far as the point you had to make. The point where I noticed you were like that.
We've got great clients who are willing to put the time and energy into it. We've got that beautiful screen now that is, the largest thing I've ever seen. And they all like to put up things that look good on that.
Oh, yeah.
And, they work on it. They work with our team, they work with themselves and their own teams. So we really feel honored by what our clients do.
It's going to be great. I'm excited about that.
And let's not leave out your the actual team, like the Don Sherman. And I just literally saw a video on LinkedIn with Joe Richardson and James Dodkins talking about his session, and it was hilarious. Those three right there are worth going and checking out, let alone all the other things you got going on. So.
Well, I assure you they'll be in rare form at the event.
Oh, I have no doubts. I mean, that's the thing. All your events always have great stories and humor running through it, which, let's face it, one thing with events, and we've talked about this a lot, ultimately, a year from now, when you say, what was the event about, most people say, I don't remember, but I had a great time, right? And that's what you want. You actually want that answer.
But Paul, it's even better. You actually remember.
Well, I make a point of remembering because you know what? I seek those people out right after I hear them, because I'm blown away by people like that. And I'm always happy to meet them briefly, at least even briefly. In fact, I went over and talked to your Dutch friends and gave them both hugs.
Well, that's terrific.
Maybe they'll be there. Maybe they'll be there on, was it June 9th to the 12th? Is that it?
9, 10, and 11.
9,
9
10,
through the
11.
11th.
June 9th to the 11th, the MGM in Las Vegas.
And we will be,
PegaWorld Inspire.
and we
I'm
will
looking
see
forward
you
to it.
there for
We will
sure.
see you there. And good luck with all the beer pong there, Alan. That'll
That's
be
right.
fun to watch.
At least make it a good beer.
Oh,
Will do. Will do. See you there.
All
Thanks
right,
again,
my
Alan.
friend. Thanks for everything. Once again, see you there. As always,
it's always
great.
fun, isn't it?
Yeah, I love having him on the show. He's great.
I just
Oh,
like
my
the fact that we know that we don't have to do anything but turn it on and start throwing questions out and let the man do what he does.
Yeah,
I like that.
I do too. One of the best guests, man. We always have him, and hopefully we'll have him next year too.
Yeah, I hope so. You know that it's one of those events I look forward to. I mean, we go to a lot of events, but it's the people. I mean, they had some great people there. So
Yeah, they
I
do.
really enjoy
They
that.
really do.
But you know what I enjoy also?
What's that? I assume it's
And
something I
now
don't.
It's time for
Oh,
Stump
wow.
the
And
Godfather.
you know what I don't
with
enjoy?
The venerable Paul Greenberg. Brought to you by Microsoft Dynamics 365 Copilot.
And I'm not messing it up this week, folks. It
That's
is
what you
not
think.
going to be messed up because last time I just let you off the hook. This time I'm not going to do it. We got a great question. I don't think you're going to be able to get this. We're going to go into it right now. Stump the Gather this week, brought to you by Microsoft Dynamics 365 Copilot. Gotta make sure I say that. The initial AI PC forecast expects these new computers, to comprise 2% of the overall total PC market in 2024 before they climb to what number in 2028. So AI PCs, which I had never heard of until like last week.
Yeah.
But apparently they're going to make up about 2% of the total PC market this year. But by 2028, they will be blank percentage of the overall total PC market. Anybody that has a guess, feel free to put it out there. I see our guest is not at it. Put your guess out there too, Alan. That'd be cool. But any initial questions you would like for me to ask? Because you usually have some questions you like before you like to give your answer.
Well, I mean, I'm presuming what I read on this market, which I did last week.
Okay, so you actually
No, I didn't read this number. I just read about AI PCs. They're pretty much Microsoft, right? Windows based primarily.
Rebecca is already in with 60.
Yeah.
Rebecca, let us know what Patrick is guessing to. Alan is saying 15%. So there's a pretty wide discrepancy between Rebecca and Alan. But as you were saying, you were reading.
Well, I was reading that this was mostly going to be, I mean, a lot of this is being sparked by Microsoft putting out Copilot AI PCs, right? I mean, that Copilot based AI PCs. Woof, woof, woof. That's
40.
40.
Patrick is coming in at 40.
Right.
Okay.
So I'm gonna eliminate most of the Mac side of it for now. I have a number, but I don't know how accurate it is. But
that's why it's called, Stump the Godfather. You take a guess, and we'll let you know how accurate you are.
Anyone else? Anyone have it?
So we got 60, we got 15, we got 40. Alan, if you want to throw one out there, let us know. We could either put it in the private chat or you can put it in a comment. We'll let people know what your guess is. We'll give a couple of more seconds before anybody else. Okay, Alan, I think Alan is coming in.
Jeopardy countdown.
He's doing like the Price is Right kind of thing. He's going with 55%. So he kind of off cut. Well, he's between Patrick and Rebecca. Oh, okay. We got Alan, is your 2024 stat is wrong. I don't know what he's talking about. I'll tell you where I got it from, and I never put the source out because I'm afraid somebody's just going to look the source up and then get the answer.
I'm completely lost with Alan's comment.
Your 2024 stat is wrong, and so is my answer,
which is 15%. So
I don't
what
know.
answer is right,
I
Alan?
don't know. Alan is like,
Alan Berkson, what answer is right?
oh, and by the way, Alan is saying, and there are AI PCs coming from Apple too. So,
Oh, I didn't hear that. I only heard it from the Windows side.
all right. Well, so we're sorry, Alan. You put your guess in at 15%. We're holding you to it. So we've got 15% from Alan. We've got 40% from Patrick. We got 55% from Alan. We got 60% from Rebecca, and the venerable Paul Greenberg says,
I'm coming in with closer to Patrick than anybody else.
okay.
I'm coming in with woof, 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 and whoa. Right,
The
times
hell is
10.
whoa.
Whoa is two letters of the 4. So I'm coming in at 45. It's
45.
woof, 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 whoa times 10.
Wow. Only on CRM Playaz do you get that kind of commentary, folks. All right.
That's right.
So we got 15, we got 40, we got 42,
45.
45, we got 55, and we got 60. And the actual answer to this week's Stump the Godfather question is we still didn't get the drum roll. Damn.
We can get a drum roll next time.
Yeah. The answer is
64.
Rebecca was the closest.
Jesus Christ.
So it's going to go from 2 to 64 in like 4 years. That's pretty impressive, man.
It's also, I don't believe it.
By the way, Patrick is saying Paul speaks.
I know. I totally get it with Patrick. Patrick and I is simpatico.
And by the way, Alan, that came from Morgan Stanley. So if you got a problem with it, I'm talking about Alan Berkson, by the way. If you got a problem with it, take it up with Morgan and Stanley. Or Stanley Morgan, which is a really good wide receiver from the Patriots.
Stanley or Oliver.
Thanks, Alan. Thanks for joining us.
Bye, Alan. Take it up with Oliver or Stanley. Get it?
Oh, God. Stan and Ollie.
Yeah, you got it.
I am too old for me to even get that. That makes me old.
Well, you could theoretically say you watched the movie that they did about them.
No, I didn't do that.
I actually did. It wasn't very good.
Anyway, are you surprised at 64%?
I actually think it's too high.
That's an estimate.
I mean, first of all, there's an assumption. There's a big assumption built in that obsolescence of all the PCs prior to it are going to take over, and people are going to just dump that investment in the PC just to get this. If it's how do I put this? Consumers are not as excited about Copilot in Windows. Like most consumers right now don't even use Windows Copilot. The Windows Copilot. They don't even bother. I do. I use it all the time.
Well, I don't use it because I don't have any Windows machines.
Yeah, well, I have on the machines. I have the gaming one I built. Yeah, well, they have it already. It's already shipping with Copilot, but I'm not calling that an AI PC. Really, it's just a PC with AI.
Yeah, what exactly differentiates a PC with AI from an AI PC?
Well, from what I understood from what I was reading, and again, it was not, just a small thing, was that an AI PC is basically permeated throughout. It's not just a feature. It's not just a feature that you use like Copilot is. It's basically AI will also be embedded in the hardware, right? So, remember when they had many years ago they had Novell Embedded Systems technology, Nest it was called. My company actually built that, and it was basically they took hardware and they embedded the ability to communicate with other systems into the hardware. Back then that was a big deal. Now it's pretty common, but it wasn't software driven, it was hardware driven. I think what they're talking about is how NVIDIA is doing all these AI driven, it's not just the processing for the AI, but they're also embedding AI in, well, a lot of these companies are starting to embed AI in the hardware itself. I think, and a lot of the actions that the PC would take are being, I'll call it controlled, or at least it kind of goes to what Alan was talking about. Actually, I guess it's the best way to put this. I'm just sort of I know what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying it very well.
Well, while you're thinking about that, let me just run some stuff by you that's going on as we speak. As I look at the kind of the last 5 minutes of the stock market being open, Salesforce, they're still down 20%. So ever since their earnings report came out, they've been in kind of a free fall, but it's about at around 20%. But they're not alone, because today is Microsoft is down, but they're only down 3%. ServiceNow is down almost 13%. And Workday, well, they got killed last year, so they're still last week, excuse me. And Adobe is down 6%. So Salesforce is kind of taking the whole enterprise software market down today.
Wow, that's not good. How's the market as a whole?
Oh, by the way, HubSpot is down 6%. NASDAQ is down 175. Dow is down 337. So a lot of this Salesforce, because it is a Dow component, and whenever one Dow component is down 20%, that's killing a Dow. But it's also these other like ServiceNow. I mean, they're getting hammered. And do you think it's just because of the Salesforce soft guidance that is? I know we're not CNBC or anything here, but it feels to me that it's more of a financial. And I was talking a little bit with Alan Berkson. It feels like the Salesforce haircut of 20% is driven more by financial analysis and financial guidance, not by anything impacting the actual industry in terms of, Salesforce did something wrong. It feels like it's being spread out because of financial analysis.
I mean, I have no idea. I mean, I can agree with you because I trust you, but beyond that, I'm one of the reasons I'm not a financial analyst because I have no idea. I mean, also one of the reasons I have a financial advisor who handles that for us. Right. He's very good too. As soon as you said how the market was behaving, I went and checked to see how far down we were. Right. We're not down much.
Well, just remember, Salesforce is a Dow component. So if they're down 20%, the Dow is going to be taking a pretty big hit.
It did. Like you said, 338 points. But I did figure out what I was trying to say on the AI. So as people who know anything about putting together PCs know, or what makes them up, the hardware carries out processes. Those processes in the CPUs, the GPUs, and Rebecca has NPU. I'm not sure what that is. Those processes will have AI embedded in the processes so that it will govern the efficiencies of those processes. In the motherboards, we'll have AI embedded in motherboards, things like that. That's an AI PC as opposed to a PC with an AI application or an AI app like
and the
Copilot.
central driver is the CPU for that, right?
Right. The CPU, and then the GPUs too. I know that's where NVIDIA comes in and AMD, right? They're already, as far as I know, beginning to build in AI into their future generations of GPUs. I don't know about
NPU is a neural processing.
Oh, the neural processing. Okay. I mean, those are, they're.
See, I think Rebecca doesn't tell us when Patrick is the actual one coming up with these answers. She's kind of,
Rebecca's actually clearly a PC geek.
Now, I don't know. I think it might be Patrick. That's what I'm saying. I think.
I bet you she's built her own too. I will bet.
Maybe.
I mean, I'm going to build it. I love building them, man. I'm going to build another one or two.
Anyway, so any thoughts before we end today about what we're going to see next week at Zoholics?
I mean, I don't know. Actually, I mean, I was very happily and surprised somewhat. He's the brains behind this outfit, right? I love that. That's the old gangster approach to saying it. I was very surprised. If I'm looking at last time when we did the analyst summit, what I was very impressed with was the evolutionary, almost revolutionary leap they had made with their AI, right? And that was, I mean, there were other things too, of course, I was impressed with, but that to me was the biggest dramatic technology difference, at least as far as Zoho went. I don't know that I'll see anything even bigger this year, really, with Zoho. It doesn't need to be because they're doing so well with what they have. But I'm guessing nature of the times, even though they're a unique organization. But we're on the analyst track, but this is the actual conference. So what we saw, these people haven't, right, yet, probably. So I think we're going to see these, and what we already saw, because they have to present it to the rest of the world. And so I don't know that we'll see anything dramatically different than we saw in McAllen. On the other hand, I'm still going to be impressed with what they're doing with AI. I think they've gone from primitive to nailing it and advanced in the space of at least a year, in a year. It was just amazing to me.
Yep. I'm always going to be fascinated by what goes on at Zoholics.
Me too.
As well as the following week at PegaWorld. So,
well, we now know what's going on there. I mean,
yeah, beer pong.
Let's not even go.
Beer
we
pong,
already know.
chess.
That's right. Ping pong, beer pong, and chess.
We got to go check out this blueprint thing. I think that
I'm sitting with it up on my screen now.
You've got the blueprint?
Well, I've got the page where you can start putting together the blueprint.
I want the blueprint.
You have to go to.
I think Jay-Z might have the blueprint though.
Oy vey. Oy vey.
I think that was the name of his latest album, Oy Vey, by
yeah. I'm sure it was.
Anyway, it's that time. So thank you for joining us on the road to PegaWorld, an event unlike any other on the CRM Playaz. I want to make sure I got that in one last time before I retire for another year.
Managed to get it in about 30 times in less than 2 days.
Jim Nance has got to retire at some point, folks. And
all right. Well,
we
know who's in the running now.
I'm already in Georgia, so I can be there. Like
there, you're right. I can show up at
be there less than 2 hours.
I'll be there at Olympic Park in 2 minutes.
Well, you know who else is going to be there? Always there for us.
Yes.
That's right.
And there he is.
And on that's Minnie. That's the she.
I said he, didn't I? I meant she.
That's why her eyes are open now, looking at you like, come on, you know who I
am. Really, Uncle Paul.
All right. Anyway, I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
We are the CRM Playaz, and we will see you from Austin, Texas, or as I like to say, Austin Tagus.
Yeah.
Inside joke there, folks.
Yes, it is. And Voodoo Donuts.
Yes. See you next week.